I also had like sleepless nights thinking about like what's going on with these generative models. Our ability to explain what large language models are doing is way behind their current capabilities. We decided to have children when we were in our 30s, and like we had a bunch of miscarriages. It was very, very painful. And the reason why we're talking is because I feel that it's not talked about often. Growing up in India, like you don't make yourself available emotionally often, and I think that in itself can be a challenge, and you just end up repressing the frustration and anger, which is a pretty common emotion.
Hi, and welcome to Indian Explorers. In this podcast, we talk about Indian success stories. I am Sabrina, and together with my co-host Amit, we will get to understand the journey of our guests and what really drives them. Their optimism, patience, idealism, and courage, these are their attributes which we hope to bring to life in these conversations with them. So if you enjoy the show, please hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Hey, good morning. It was an eventful weekend.
Good morning, Sabrina. How's the country doing?
Oh, the country's, I think, hanging by a thread. You know, we have a attempted assassination on our Republican nominee and former president. We have another president who is, or our current president, who's the Democratic nominee, who is forgetting what he says when he's speaking to the American people. It's been interesting.
I think it's over. I mean, there shouldn't even be a vote anymore. I think Biden's going to lose by such a large margin. It's going to be historical. Yeah. And it's only
for the first time when it comes to American politics, I agree with you. Yeah. I think he's going to lose, and it's going to be considerable.
Did you see Trump, what he did when he was talking? He did this, and then all of a sudden, he leaned into the microphone. And as he leaned, the bullet passed and grazed his ear. If he just stayed back, it would be in his brain. He got lucky.
You called me when this happened and everyone's watching the news. And then I text you and said, and I know I'm not alone. And there are millions of Americans thinking how this looks staged. There's a shooter on a building adjacent to where they are. You're telling me Secret Service didn't secure that area. When Secret Service picked him up, he's totally exposed. Is this a Secret Service breakdown, or is this like a staged for votes? It's. I wouldn't put anything.
I don't think it's a conspiracy thing. It's too close.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this one there were too many. Usually they rush. He's a former president. Secret Service should have rushed him off the stage.
Yeah.
But they took like 20 some seconds to do it.
Well, Trump said, wait, let me put my shoes on.
Still, that's Secret Service.
And then he says, wait. And then he puts the punch up with blood on his face.
At that moment when I saw that, I was like, yeah, he's winning this. He's winning this.
Yeah. I was quite impressed though. I was quite impressed that the country did not go into a riot. There wasn't, like more.
It's coming. It's coming.
No.
It will come.
Only if he loses the election would there be riots.
I don't know. Right? There'll be something before now in November. There's way too much time. What do people around the world or Indians around the world think about this? Do you know? About our election this year, this specific election.
I think the whole world thinks what Democrats think deep down, that Biden's too old.
Yeah.
That he's such a good man and he's given the country everything he's got. Yeah. And he just doesn't know when to quit. It's time for him to quit. And even though the world doesn't like Donald Trump, they think Donald Trump versus Biden is an easy choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's easy.
I will still vote for Biden. I still will. That's how much I dislike Trump.
Yeah, that's fine. But
it's,
yeah,
I'm going to be in the minority.
Yeah. I think the whole world does not understand the whole Roe versus Wade. How is that
impactful that is?
Yeah, and Trump just saying that. I thought when Roe versus Wade thing happened, I thought Biden was going to win, right? The economy is doing well. He's done a good job. all he had to do was hand over to somebody else, a Gavin Newsom or somebody else. And now Trump, I don't know anything about his VP nominee. I know he's got an Indian wife, but I don't know much about.
I don't know much about him either. I do know that he was discrediting Trump
a couple of years ago.
When he ran the first time, but
that's normal.
If the the Republican nominee says, "I want you to be my VP," you do it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens, but I think the election's over. On better news, I was very, very happy with Spain winning the Eurocup.
Yes,
7 out of 7 wins, beating Germany, France, Italy,
First
Croatia,
time that's ever happened, England. Right? A team wins out.
In European, yes. There was a Brazilian team that won the Copa America, winning everything. Okay. I think it was 1920s. And now, next year in June or July, we get to play Argentina that just won the Copa America.
Yes.
It's called La Finalísima.
Yes. That's what Yamin, right? The 17-year-old on the Spanish team was saying, I just want to play my idol in this match.
Yeah. Let's see. I think Messi should just retire by now. He has nothing else to prove. He's won it all.
You think he'll stay for the next World Cup?
I don't think so.
No, you think he'll be done before then?
I think
Argentina wins. Yeah. And then what about this mess before the Copa America final in Miami? I mean, they better get this security under lock before World Cup in the US.
Yeah, but I think the World Cup is organized by a different governing body, right? That has much more experience.
Yeah, for sure.
The CONMEBOL is, Latin run.
Yeah.
It's a joke. I mean, what happened was, imagine spending $5,000 on tickets, hotels, and travel, and then not being allowed in the stadium to watch.
And then, or showing up and someone's in your seat.
And you're out there crying and sweating and hot and I don't know what the refund is. I don't know what the recourse is. I don't know who.
I grew up in Miami, so I did say, "Oh gosh, only in Miami this happens." Yeah. I know it happens everywhere, but.
And they're blaming the Colombians, and then the Colombians are blaming the Argentinians. But at the end of the day,
it was both fans.
Well, I mean, in Europe,
but security was weak.
But in Europe, or any major event, when you're going to get 80,000 people in a stadium, you don't open the stadium 1 hour before the match. You open it 3 to 4 hours before. People can go in, get their seats, start the celebrations, get the hot dogs and the beers or the popcorn.
Yeah.
CONMEBOL decided 1 hour. They didn't have enough security guards, and there were so many people.
They had one, if I'm not mistaken, it was one security guard per 300 people.
Yeah, I don't know what the ratio should be.
I don't know what the ratio should be, yeah.
But they're already anywhere a bit tipsy. They're with families, they're with old people, and you just need to get people in with much more time and in a much more organized manner. They needed more gates.
It was a mess. It was a mess. And then to have the players... To have the players wait an hour
and a half,
I think that's a huge thing for the teams.
It's a joke. Yeah.
Anyway, well, ready for our guest?
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
We touched on politics and sports, our favorite topics. So let's bring on the guest.
Sure.
So I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Rushi Luhar. He has a diverse background, having begun his professional career as an analyst and corporate trader at Citigroup, to today being the Chief Technology Officer at Jeavio, a technology partner with passion for software excellence. In between, there is a lot to cover about him, including his passion for technology, writing, and photography. So welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Sabrina. Thanks, Amit. Thanks for having me.
I sense that British accent that I haven't heard in a long time. And people say I have it as well. So let's jump in, Rushi. Give us your background. Where were you born? Where did you start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I was born in India. I was born in the city of Vadodara, which is in Gujarat. I was there till I was 17. Typical smallish town, Indian upbringing. A lot of summers playing cricket, etc. My father was a chemical engineer, and he got a job offer in the Netherlands or Holland. He joined an org called the UPCW, the Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. So we all moved to the Netherlands, and I finished high school there. And then I moved from the Netherlands to the UK, where I did university and ended up working in London. working at Citibank in the technology side through the graduate program. And then I was in London for almost 20 years. I was in the UK for almost 20 years. Spent in between there, I lived in Japan for 3 years. I got moved there for one of my jobs. And now I'm here in the US. I live in the Washington, D.C. area. I've been here for about 5 years. And I've got 2 young kids and really leaning into the suburban life out here in the US. So,
what's the difference between Netherlands and Holland? Why did they change their name? I never knew the background.
I think
Do you know?
I think Holland is a region of the Netherlands. So like it's sort of that's what I believe is the reason, but don't quote me on it. I think it's the Netherlands is the name of the country, and I think Holland was like one of the dominant regions. But that's my understanding. Yeah. But the football team, the chant is like "Hope Holland," right? So I think they sort of use interchangeably.
And they have a national anthem with words, right? Because I asked, because Sabrina and I are Spanish, or born in Spain, and the Spanish
Right.
national anthem, as you saw in the Eurocup, doesn't have any words. Because I saw on Twitter, people were saying, or X, people were saying, hey, why aren't the Spanish singing their national anthem? Like the British do, and like most countries, like the Americans always do. And I'm like, oh, they don't have any words. Do the Dutch have words, the anthem?
I believe so, but it's been a while since I watched it. So I'll do some frantic Googling later, and I'll text you, Amit.
Were you disappointed when the English did not bring the cup home?
I honestly think this is such a talented group of players. I'm a big soccer fan, and it was a little disappointing, but I think the Spanish team just played a much more coherent game. They had a very clear strategy, and I think England has always been under the current, or I guess previous manager now, has always been quite reactive. So although it's like a very amazingly talented group of individuals, but like as a team, I think Spain was just so much more coherent, so much more aggressive in the way that they played. Great game though.
We call it football in this show, not soccer.
Well, that's good. So do I.
I still say soccer.
Sabrina, where do you want to go from here?
I mean, I want to know like about you. You've made such a big jump in your professional career. Tell us about that. I mean, you were in trading, correct?
Yeah, I worked so I joined investment banking, capital markets, just when this whole wave of electronic trading was really taking hold, right? So I worked in the foreign exchange side of things. So before, let's say in the 90s, 80s, 90s, foreign exchange traders were sort of like the knuckle draggers of the capital markets. The whole thing of like buy, sell, they had all these East End lads in London working as brokers and so on. So in the early 2000s is when this wave of electronic trading came across foreign exchange. It had happened in equity for a while. So my first job was, as a graduate at Citibank, is to work on the front office foreign exchange trading technology side of things. So where instead of somebody calling up saying I want to buy $1 million and sell pounds, you just place an order via a portal. This is 2003, and it seemed revolutionary at that time. A little bit behind equities. So that's where I joined, and I was in that space for a long time. So until the end of 2016, and I sort of did similar jobs for Citibank, a little bit different work at Morgan Stanley. Then I was at Bank of Tokyo for 6-7 years, and then I was at Royal Bank of Canada. Over this period of time, I don't know if you all have read Michael Lewis's great book. It's called Flash Boys, which is about, it's basically this revolution in banking where it's all about milliseconds, right? So Sabrina, if you're trying to buy something, and when you place an order, the time from where that order goes to the time that it's done is literally in the milliseconds. So this whole revolution happened in banking. There was a whole bunch of technology stuff, like large parts of my job was trying to figure out how to shave off like 20 milliseconds from something that was going on. And it seems kind of ridiculous, but
it made that much of a difference.
It made a huge difference.
Purchase or sale, right?
Yeah. And And that's sort of what you alluded to, the change in job, is because after a while of doing that, you just kind of think, man, is this my life? I'm just going to be sitting here looking at this kind of stuff and working on how I can shave off some milliseconds from what one process is doing and so on. And hey, there's people like billions doing this. There's people with PhDs whose job it is like to optimize these type of models.
And
but
this
yeah,
is about you're there from the early 2000s to 2016, and I mean you've been promoted, right, over and over.
Yeah. I mean, I always worked in technology. So I started off. So it's a usual investment banking technology path. You start as an analyst, become an associate, and VP, and associate director, and all that kind of stuff. I think it was pretty typical career trajectory from my peers, but it also is a pretty small group of people who work, who did this type of work.
I stopped at analyst. I did 2 years of an analyst, and then I didn't get to the next level. I went to a garage. I went to a garage with Sabrina's brother in Miami, and we started my own company.
Yeah.
And I don't miss investment banking days in the slightest. It was hard work.
Shelf life, huh? It seems to have a quick shelf life.
Yeah, there's definitely, you hit your late 30s, then there's definitely an up or out type setup. Technology is a little less brutal, but at the same time, I had seen when I started, you had these big trading floors full of dudes, basically, very male-dominated field at that point, sort of just disappear. And all of this work is now getting computerized, and they are being replaced by quants, people with degrees, PhDs in statistics and physics and mathematics. And so it became a pretty brutal kind of industry. And yeah, there's definitely an element of that. You either keep going up, or your job gets moved to India or wherever.
So how did
it can get pretty?
It sounds like Billions, the TV show.
Oh yeah. It's very. I mean, the hedge fund industry was way more aggressive. But I worked in American investment banks. It's definitely a hard charging mentality.
Is that where you lost your hair?
I think I just blame genetics and too much partying in my 20s, probably. No, I was pretty aerodynamic by the time I was in my mid 20s. So
really? Oh, so that is genetics.
It is genetics. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And were you good with the ladies at that age without the hair on the top, or?
No, really, no. No. But I think being a little bit of working in technology, being a little nerdy. But I met my now wife. I wasn't antisocial. I was still going out. I really enjoyed the social scene in London. I used to love going to clubs and things like that. And I met my now wife in a bar in London. So not a total.
Which clubs did you go to in London? Café de Paris, or which?
Oh yeah, no. My favorite club is the one that's still going. I think it's called Fabric. It's in a place called Farringdon, and they played very loud and very fast dance music, so drum and bass, techno, that kind of stuff. So you said Thursdays they play hip hop. Yeah.
You met your wife at a bar.
That's right. Yeah. We both lived in.
Is she Indian?
No, she's not. She's actually from the U.S. So she's from Alabama, here in the U.S.
Alabama.
So Alabama, that's right. Yeah, and we both lived near King's Cross in London, and she was doing a master's there, and we met at a bar which was literally halfway between my apartment and where she lived. So yeah.
Moving to Alabama ever be like something to consider?
Moving there,
because you had told me small town Alabama is where she's from.
It is. Yeah. It's look, it's a beautiful part of the world, and generally pretty friendly people with a difficult past, of course, at times. But no, I wouldn't consider moving there. I think she was one of those people who was very driven. Hey, buddy.
We have another guest today.
We do. How's it going?
He's just knocking on the door so much that I think he wanted to meet Rushi.
Hi.
This is Amit.
Hi, hello, Amit. Very handsome young man. Yeah. So I don't think so. So Jessica, my wife, she was one of those people who wanted to get out of small town Alabama.
Okay.
So she like went to boarding school. Like she got selected. Like the state of Alabama runs a boarding school for people, gifted children. So she got a scholarship to go there, and then she did her university out in the Philadelphia area. So even if like when I work from home, I could work from anywhere. I would be open to trying a new experience, but it'll be a hard no from her, I think.
Okay, so you were the CTO at Jeavio.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I go to their webpage. Can you tell me, I'm not, a techie. Can you tell me in layman's terms what Jeavio does?
Yeah, sure. So Jeavio, the founding team at Jeavio, they were entrepreneurs. They had their own companies, product companies before. In the Boston area, Yash and Uday, the brothers who were the founders of Jeavio, they had a big exit. And then they were angel investors in early stage startups. So this is going back almost 30 years, right? They've been very active in the startup scene in Massachusetts, in the Boston area. And they've, Yash especially had made a number of investments as an angel investor in early stage startups. And what he realized is that a lot of startups, the founders are often people who understand the business, but they're not necessarily super technical. So what ends up happening is that they either hire somebody or they work with a contractor, right? So let's say you raise some money from friends and family. You've got a couple of $100,000. You're going to build a product. You would go and find, unless you know someone, you'll go and find some contractor or group in India or Philippines or Poland, whatever, or the US, and they help build this product for you. And often the incentives aren't aligned, right? Because you have basically a contractor who's a mercenary saying, yeah, I'll take your money, I'll build whatever you want. And then you have the founder whose baby this is. Like often they've invested a huge amount of personal capital in here.
Yeah.
So what the idea of the Jeavio's founder was that, hey, maybe we can align our incentives. Maybe as services providers, we can have skin in the game. So we started off the company with the idea of helping early stage startups build their products, and we would act as an investor. So Jeavio would invest in the company as well. And then for the products that we build for them, we get a combination, we get like a stake in the company, right?
Course,
so our incentives are aligned. If the company does well, then we make money. We still cover our costs, but that was the idea. So after investment banking, I joined an early stage startup, and I knew Yash from before, and so they helped my startup. They just getting Jeavio going at that point. So they helped me with building some bits that I wanted to get sorted out, and then they said, "Hey, look, why don't you just come work for us full time?" And that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years. So basically, that's what the company does, and it's grown. It was like 30 people when I joined. Now we're almost 280 people. And now we still have a very active startup portfolio. I work as the CTO at Jeavio, but I also work as a CTO, a fractional CTO for our portfolio companies. I help them with product and technology strategy. And we also work with bigger companies, like Fortune 100 companies. We work with private equity-backed software companies. So
my co-host here, I think, might be pitching some ideas to.
I'm ready.
Ever since this AI thing has started, ChatGPT started, and I showed it to Sabrina, and Sabrina was like, "What's ChatGPT?" You remember that, Sabrina?
It was it was not this past December, the December before.
So December 22.
22.
Yeah.
He came to visit, and he showed me, and I'm like, how did that happen so fast?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
I think I showed it to every single family member.
Yes, that you visited on that trip.
My brother, my cousin, Raveen, you, my mom, my dad. I had to do a face call and say, guys, look at this.
Yeah.
And I would be like, Gotham, my son, meets girl in Paris and falls in love and marries in 2039 in Mars. Click, write essay. And it would come up with a 1,000-word essay in like 10 seconds. And I would read it, and it would be far better than me even after a year's attempt of writing, right? And everyone would be blown away. So, and I figured that this would happen, Dali, Midjourney, and the way we're going. So here's my idea. If anyone's listening and ends up doing it, just give us 10% equity or give us something, right? And if Rushi, if you like it, I'm happy to build this with you and we can take this offline. So what I figured was like even the Hallmark's card industry is today a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? Now, imagine it's Sabrina's birthday, right? And I want to send her a card. Today, I can go online and go to many websites and pick, templates, like or design something on Canva and send it by WhatsApp, or send it by, like, all the invites are now by Canva, right? So I should be able to go on my phone right now to a site, ABC, and click on category, say sport,
Birthday.
Michael Jordan.
Oh, okay.
Or let's be more topical. I should be able to click on Trump.
Right.
And over there's a database of the Trump picture with his punch and blood on his face, right? And I should be able to go, because I've got Sabrina and her friends and family, her husband Noel's picture on my phone. I should be able to go click Trump, click Noel, and Noel's face now goes on top of Trump's, with Noel having blood all over. And I send this to Sabrina with a message saying, "Hey, baby, we did it. Sorry, 4 more years. Love you." Right? Now think about that. Now think about Messi with the Barcelona jersey in Santiago Bernabeu. Think about Muhammad Ali with the boxing thing. Think about, I don't know, Elon Musk and all his memes. I should be able to, because right now they are photo,
so you can do that on Canva, but now you're saying
no, but this is all click, 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 manually do it. Okay. I'm saying I should be able to go in and choose my category. Like, for example, I should be able to go right now and go Paris, museums, Louvre, Mona Lisa. Bang, there's a picture of Mona Lisa. And now instead of Mona Lisa, I click on Sabrina. And Sabrina's picture goes on Mona Lisa. And now it's no longer the IP of the Louvre. It's my IP because I edited it.
Got it.
And I'd be able to send that picture of Sabrina and post it in a family group, or on Facebook, or on TikTok, and create a video. Nowadays, it's not just photographs. Nowadays, the iconic, Michael Jordan's dunk from the free line. Imagine I put Sabrina's brother, who's a basketball aficionado, on that picture.
My face.
And imagine all of a sudden now I sent her brother Raveen a birthday message, and it's a 10-second video on YouTube, which is already free.
But just by the click.
By just by click, Raveen, choose the video. And I already have a database of all the iconic photographs and iconic videos of under a minute. Eventually this will be movies. But that should be built. A product should exist. And you've seen it in that app where you take 5 pictures of yourself and then you Barbie.
It was That's right.
So all these things now exist, but I want to take it to one step forward and make it like some sort of a portal. And if Madrid or Messi or Barcelona come after me, that's money. That means we've made it, because that means we have enough traffic and we're creating enough. And then if you do that, you then go to the clubs. You go to Madrid, Barcelona, you go to the Louvre, and you actually sign the IP or licensee contracts, where whatever fee you get, you give them 20, 30%.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting idea. And I think technically it's probably even possible right now, because the way that these models, the likes of Midjourney or DALL-E, the diffusion models, right? They start, it's really fascinating how they're trained. And I think, why not? I think
we can cut this 3 minutes from the episode, and we can, because it's something I want to do. I got a quote from somebody in India, but no equity. It was $40,000, and I just didn't feel, I'm not there sitting day by day with them. I didn't feel comfortable taking the plunge, and I pulled out. And I've had this idea for about a year now.
What you should do is you should try, I don't know if you have ChatGPT Pro or not. It's
not available in Chile.
Oh, man. Okay, so you can try Midjourney or any one of these apps. I think Microsoft also just released their new designer app. And I think you can just, through a combination of, I think in ChatGPT you can upload an image and say, and through prompting, you can say, transform this image so that it looks like the Mona Lisa having a cup of coffee sitting on the Seine or something like that.
You could do that on ChatGPT too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can. You can upload pictures, you can modify them through prompting and all that kind of stuff. So
what I found is that the apps that make money are the ones that just do one thing well.
Yeah.
Just one thing, like the Barbie one, or the one where you click 5 pictures of me, and then there's a different views, and then there's 50 pictures which I can use for LinkedIn, or there's me looking like Cleopatra. So these things exist, but I need someone to build the product. We can just focus on sports. Like if we just focus on all the sporting icons and sporting moments. And, if you're interested, Rushi, we can talk offline about this. That's one idea. I have a few more, I don't want to waste.
I think this whole time, I had a similar, experience, revelation that you had, Amit, in 2022, because my startup before Jeavio was in machine learning. I was really fascinated with where this thing was going. I also had sleepless nights thinking about what's going on with these generative models and LLMs. And I think I feel like we are still exploring the capabilities of what these things can do. It's like our ability to explain what large language models are doing is way behind their current capabilities. There is no theoretical framework to explain how some of these emergent behavior shows up, right? So that for me is both kind of weird. It's we're spending billions, trillions of dollars pushing these things everywhere, but still we don't actually understand how these things work.
So are you in or are you out? I didn't quite get it. Are you in or are you out? That's what I want to know. Are you in on my idea? Are we able to do this together?
I'm in. I mean, at Jeavio, I've got a team of almost 17 people working on generative AI. I mean, we're all in on this in terms of R&D and then potential.
Should I do one more, Sabrina, or you're bored?
What's that?
Should I do one more idea or you're bored?
I have a question for him, and then we'll go to your next idea. I want to know, you're knee deep into this, and you also write about technology and where it's headed as a passion. Where are we headed? How is this? And this is Amit, you even said one night you have sleepless nights over, how things are going to change for our children. Where are we going with this? Like AI and...
Yeah, I think we are. I think Amit's hit the nail on the head. I think we are about to see a massive disruption of knowledge work, right? And
did you say disruption or destruction?
Both, possibly. Disruption for sure.
What are we, the thesaurus?
I think so. So here, let me give you an example, right? So I mentioned. In 2016, I quit banking. I was working in a deep learning startup. It took us months to build a model that can take a review, let's say an e-commerce review. You are an e-commerce company in the UK, you have a review and you want to analyze what are people complaining about, right? So it took us a model, it took us months and lots of money to train something that could be tuned for a specific thing. It could say whether this review was about a specific topic, what was the sentiment being expressed, and so on. This was cutting edge at the time. In 5 years, less than 5 years, this just now becomes one line that I send to ChatGPT, right? And this you just get without any training, without spending a huge amount of money as an end user. Suddenly, all this work that my startup spent months doing is now just one prompt, right? I used to be a developer, now I'm a PowerPoint jockey, but last couple of weeks, I decided to build something for one of my clients. It took me, as a rusty developer, it took me literally 3 days to build a fully working prototype because I was heavily using AI assistants. I was asking questions like I had a Claude, which is another ChatGPT-like product. I had a window open. I had AI assistant in my, Anthropic, I had an AI assistant in my environment, and it was just so quick. And for me, the reason I was sitting up all night, I was like, hey, Jeavio is a services company, right? And there's huge numbers, Infosys, Wipro, we're a tiny fish. But there's millions of people in India, massive middle class, whose work is predicated on the type of software engineering or white collar work that it has driven massive prosperity and productivity in India and many other countries. But now I can see that all of this stuff can be done, can be automated so quickly, right? So if I'm sitting here in the US, Amit and I decide to start a startup. Right now, I'll say, Amit, we don't need to go and work with a services company. We can just hire a couple of people, smart people in Chile, give them GitHub Copilot or ChatGPT, and they will be able to turn this stuff around faster and really well, right? So we are seeing a massive jump in productivity. And then there are good and bad things, divergent paths. But to answer your question, I think like we are heading towards serious disruption about the type of comfortable jobs, right? Software engineers in the US make $500,000 a year, right? You work in Amazon or Google, happy days, very comfortable job for the last 20 years. And this year, if you go on tech Twitter or Threads, you'll see a lot of people saying, hey, I can't find a job.
Unemployed.
Because there's been layoffs already. So it's, anyway.
So the industry is already, the industry is already like shaken up by it.
Oh yeah. There's been significant layoffs that are not directly attributed to this, but I think if you ask any CEO where they see this going, I think they say, yeah, well, we're pushing for productivity gains through the use of these tools, right? So, so that's kind of keeps me, I think about that quite a lot, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, my second invention.
Go on, Amit. I'm ready.
This one, even Sabrina will like. You want to bet? Sabrina is a Wordle mania. Like every day she does Wordle, right? So this is a combination of Wordle and what's that Steve Harvey show? Family Feud?
Family Feud? Yeah. Well, okay. We watch Family Feud all the time here.
There you go. Okay, so now imagine every day from 12 at night to 12 noon, so the first 12 hours of the day, online or on the app, you have 10 questions, like Family Feud version, So the questions would be like, who is the greatest athlete of all time in basketball?
Right.
What is the first thing you want to do to your wife in the morning? And, people will, from all over the world, from 12 to 12, answer. Michael Jordan, kiss her, slap her, kill her, whatever the words are, right? And then instead of 100 answers, it's the world. So the answers become 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people.
Yeah.
And then the next 12 hours, from 12:01 p.m. to 11:59 at night, it's basically people with the points. So the point system. So the first 12 hours, people are asking. And then the second one is where you're answering. And as you answer, you get the data from the first 12 hours.
Okay.
Right? And it's a game. So
I would play that.
So the people who get the most points then show off and say, hey, listen, I got a record. And then you try and beat yourself and you get more and more points. Now, obviously, we can do the first 100 answers, but as you get more popular, it's the first 1,000, the first 10,000, the first 50,000. And then you can do it. And then you can do city specific. So the people in Dubai, the questions will be, how many floors are there to the Burj Khalifa? Or, what's the best attraction in Dubai in the last 12 months? What's the best Italian restaurant in Dubai? And everyone in Dubai will be like, no, I like this one. I like this one. I like this one. And then you're basically creating communities in a fun, interactive manner.
That's awesome.
Using a Wordle type concept.
I like this one better than the
other.
That's an awesome idea.
I thought
you know me well. You know me well.
This is funny that you mentioned Wordle, but do you know, I'm hacking away on like a little side project right now. And do you know what that's called? It's called Sasy Wordle.
Sasy Wordle.
So my idea, this is just because I'm trying to get back into programming a little bit. I also like Wordle. I love reading. So my idea is that you play Wordle, but every time you make a guess, you have a little bot in the side that makes snide comments and remarks on your guess. And that could be like different personalities, right? You could have like a VS Nepal. Yeah.
Like loser.
Yeah, exactly. Oh wow, you're a little basic. It could be like a Mean Girls personality that will like make like Mean Girls remarks. Yeah, it's like, oh wow, that's really like basic,
Yeah, but the same 5 word. So it's like a plugin, like a Chrome extension on Wordle.
Yeah, it's just a way in which I was exploring how to think about this AI stuff, right? So it is, if you can. It was just like a thought experiment. Now, actually, I am working on this. And so the idea was that how can you make personalities that make for a more meaningful, engaging experience, right? So you're playing Wordle, you're making guesses, and then actually, your idea is much better. I love the whole social networking community aspect of it, the whole cloud.
Okay, so
that's good.
So the first one, I'll fund myself since no one seems to like it. I'll send you a 1 page on that. The second one, I'm doing it with Sabrina. And if Sabrina wants to, obviously. And then Rushi, I'm happy with a third each. So if you want to be involved, if not, we'll find out through Jeavio. But
done.
I think we should move on to other topics other than ideas. I want to know, about your wife a little bit. Tell me about your wife. You said you met her at the bar. and she's white, you're Indian.
That's
Was
right.
that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that it's a taboo. In fact, Sabrina and I have been talking about bringing in mixed couples on the show to talk about their experiences in India and their experiences in America, and how easy it is for them to make friends, and do they have more Indian friends or white friends. And nowadays, like in Chile, my Indian friends are all married to Chilean girls. So for us, it's not really it's not even a taboo. It's like the norm. But there seems to be, for people who are over 40, there seem to be some issues, parental issues. Did you have any issues?
No, it's yeah, sure. So yeah, we met almost 20 years ago now in London. One thing, we are quite different personalities, different backgrounds. So one thing that we both have in common is we have very poor bar presence. If both of us are standing in a bar and there's other crowds of people looking for drinks, we will always be the last people to get served. I don't know what it is, but there is something about the way we stand or whatever.
Same problem in a bar.
It's yeah. So we were both standing in this bar. We were both trying to get the attention of the bartender. And we just got talking, and we made a deal that, okay, whoever gets served first will buy the other person a drink. So I managed to get served first. I gave her a drink, then I walked off.
What a flirt.
Yeah.
What a
I wasn't even thinking. I told you.
Whose idea was walked off. He bought her the drink and walked off.
No, but whose idea was that? You have to be mean to treat them keen, right? But whose idea was
no,
that?
It wasn't. I was just so oblivious. I mean, and this was also at 10:30. So I was a little...
AM or PM?
Just say PM. So
PM.
I was a little...
Was your idea or her idea? Who made the deal that, hey, I want to get to know your personality here? Did you say...
I think I did. But then I was too shy. I didn't say, okay, so what do I do now? I just gave her the drink and I walked off, right?
But you found her attractive.
Yeah, she was, of course. Yeah. But she came back to me and said, and then she came and talked to me afterwards. So she's the one who's always a bit more adventurous and willing to push the boat out. So she came, she talked to me saying, hey, that was weird.
So your strategy
weird.
Your strategy worked.
Inadvertently. And I'm very glad for it. And it worked. And we started dating. And I had I think she said, oh, I went to an Indian restaurant. There was a little Bangladeshi Indian place next door. And I said, oh, that's not real Indian food. I'll show you real Indian food. Let's go out for a date. So that was my move. And that's how we ended up together. So yeah, she's American. She's works at the World Bank at the moment here in DC. And so to answer your question, my family was actually really relaxed about it because my parents also come from different religious backgrounds. And to be honest with you, what my mom said was that, you know what, I'm just glad because we were thinking, how are we going to find an Indian girl for you? Because you're so weird. So,
wow.
So we're just
they didn't say
happy.
They didn't say we thought you were gay and we're just glad that you like women.
No. I had girlfriends before and I had so they were aware, but I think they were just like, you are into science fiction and you ramble about whatever is on your mind, right? And you do all kinds of weird stuff. So I mean, how is it going to work, right? So they're pretty happy, and
more progressive. They were progressive, like, okay, it's fine.
I wish I was more geeky. I wish I was more nerdy, more Star Wars, read more books.
I'm
looking back. I feel now being cool and being good at sport is not really pain. I wish I was more geeky and nerdy.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were very supportive. They, and we lived together for a long time before we actually got married. So that was all fine. The funny thing is, we had, like many mixed race couples, we had a wedding here in the US and we had a wedding in India. And we had everything in the US was done by us. It was in Alabama. We had 75 people, pretty small wedding, pretty big wedding, Alabama standards. It was very nice. And then in India, my parents said, look, you're the oldest son. We have a massive family here in Baroda. We gotta do something here because nobody's going to fly to Alabama. It's too expensive. So I said, okay, just don't go too crazy. Okay, just do whatever you want. We're in Japan at that point. So we fly into India for the second wedding. This is in 2011. And I was like, there's a lot of people here. Like
Ambani style wedding? Ambani style?
No, God, no, not that crazy. And I was like, okay, so how many people are you expecting at this wedding? And my dad goes, only 600 of our closest friends and family. So that was massive cultural. I think many mixed race couples go through this,
Yes.
especially like going through this. I don't know if either of you have had like a big fat Indian wedding and
yeah. So
otherwise.
my husband was born in India, but adopted at birth
Right.
here in the US. So ours was very similar. We literally did the Hindu ceremony. And then
Mhm.
as soon as I didn't want to like 2 days of weddings,
Right.
because we had so many other events. So we literally finished the Hindu ceremony, got up, the pastor was there, and had the Christian ceremony.
Right.
And it was
Nice.
about a couple hundred people, Indian people, and about 10 white people for wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
Was I invited? I don't remember being there. Was
Of
I
course,
invited?
you were at my wedding. Yes.
the funniest, I think we had quite a few people show up for the Alabama wedding, and my because I went to university, all my friends, the groomsman was like a bad joke. Like the groomsman, I'm obviously Indian, and the other groomsman was Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Nigerian. So it was like this joke is like, what happens when an Indian, Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Nigerian go to a wedding in Alabama? And so it was like it was pretty funny. Like the people in Alabama were very baffled. So because my mom's side of the family is Jain, I know you all are Sindhi, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, we are.
So Jain's pretty hardcore, very strict dietary requirements.
No
vegetarian, no alcohol, no potatoes, no carrots.
No alcohol in the wedding.
Yeah, well, no, that would never happen. But but so we had some Jains at this wedding in Alabama, and we had a local caterer. We wanted them to try the local Southern American cuisine. And we're like, okay, so it needs to be vegetarian. So like, okay, so we can just pick the bacon bits out, right? And they're like, no, that doesn't work like that. So and they say, okay, so we made these things called biscuits, which I'm sure people from the south of the US, it's not sweet biscuits. These are like little muffins that are savory.
With gravy.
Yeah, with gravy and all that.
Okay.
And they're like, okay, well, those are vegetarian. We can serve them. And then they were a huge hit. And then we find out that actually they are not vegetarian because they use lard to cook them. So I'm sorry, my relatives. I've been holding that back for 20 years, but not 10 years, but no. But anyway, so a lot of like, a bit of comedy of errors. But it was great. I mean, it works well. So here we are.
I wanted to ask you something personal. It's the topic we brought up when we did the intro talk, and it's something that Sabrina and I also have, like, not discussed in detail, but it's something we've touched on, I think, in the past. It was when you were trying to have children that you were considering or went ahead with IVF, and when my wife and I were trying to have our first child, we also discussed it. We didn't go ahead with it, but why don't we start with your story?
Yeah, sure. So we decided to have children when we were in our 30s. So after being together for a while, and it was quite a difficult journey. Like it was, we went through something that isn't talked very often. Like we had a bunch of miscarriages. It was very, very painful, especially for me mentally, but for my wife physically and mentally, very, very difficult. And the reason why we're talking is because I feel that it's not talked about often. Many people don't get the support. They don't feel comfortable talking about infertility and the difficult journey that is involved. And then when you go through IVF, that itself is a really physically demanding experience, especially for the lady who has to go through the process, a lot of hormones and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Expensive, and it has no guarantees for success, right?
Sure.
So at the end of the process, you end up it's still a crapshoot, right? You don't know, and you've spent all this money, you've put yourself through a mental and physical challenge, and then you still are dealing with this. And what I found talking to, and I think we the three of us spoke about this briefly yesterday when we had a briefing. A lot of other folks are going through this right now. It's because people are having kids
later.
It's maybe environmental issues, who knows, right? And I think especially in the Indian diaspora, it's, for men especially, it's not something that people talk about very often, right? I think because it also takes a toll. You have you grow up in a family, you have all your friends having kids, and you have these ideas of what like a family would look like and what would happen. And then when you go through this journey, it becomes really difficult to even think through like what is right and what is wrong. Do you just give up? What are the resources available, and so on? So I found, talking about it with my friends, like I'm pretty open on some social media sites, like talking about what it means when you finally. We were lucky after many years of trying. We now have two beautiful girls, and it's great. But it was still a very painful process, right?
Was that that outlet of talking to people, whether it was on social media or off social media? Was that the support? Like, did that help, that support? And I asked because my husband and I went through the same process, and the IVF did not work for me. And it was devastating. And I know you know what that feels like. And, not only, I was also worried about him, because even though like it was my body that was getting the injections and not getting pregnant, and he was so supportive. And it was about a year later, someone said, I have another doctor for you if you want to try again. And he said, it's your body. He said, at the end of the day, it's your choice if you want to do this. Ultimately, it's your decision. But it's devastating and it is emotionally draining. So did that help you, like talking to people? Like you had a support system through this as the male in the relationship?
Yeah. So when we're going through this, so this process, 2012 all the way to 2019, right? So this is like 7 years of trying. At that point, I didn't tell anyone that what was going on. Some people knew. But once our daughter was born, and that's when I started hearing, and some people knew that obviously, when you have first kid, you've been married for a while, and you have first kid at 40, people kind of figure out, okay, there's something going on. And then that's when I realized that's when I became a lot more open about it, saying that, look, this is not a miracle baby in the sense that she was conceived through science. We did like a whole bunch of ridiculous like genetic testing and this and that and figuring out like what would work and all that kind of stuff. And it takes a toll, right? And that's when I became a lot more open about this, and that's when people, like I started talking to people about saying, what that experience meant. I think as an Indian man, and growing up in India, like you don't make yourself available emotionally often, and I think that in itself can be a challenge, and you just end up repressing the frustration and anger, which is pretty common emotion, I think, and that causes. So anyway, so that's I
commend you on talking about it. Even if it was after, and helping yourself and other people who it may be affecting.
I think, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, we've all had issues with this. All of us. I have 3 beautiful children, and oh my God, it's been a roller coaster. And for me, the mental energy that it took was staggering. And the worst thing of all is that I'm not like Sabrina's husband, like a really good guy. Like I wasn't there for my wife when she went through this. Like she had an app. She would send me dates on the WhatsApp that this dates have to be the days that we try. And I'm like the complete opposite effect. If those are the days, I'm mentally now gone. Like I want it to be natural. If God wants me to have a child, I'll have a child. If God doesn't want me to have a child, screw it. After 2 years of trying, let's do IVF. I was totally against it. I didn't even want to entertain the conversation.
And was this for your first?
Yes.
Or
for the first.
Yeah.
I was like a real old school, like not comfortable talking about it. After a year and a half or 2 years, I finally accepted to doing the tests. Like, I had to do a semen test and everything. And it made things worse because I remember she called me and she goes, because we're on speakerphone, and the doctor goes, we've got the results of the semen test. And I was like so nervous. And she was like, I know it's something I know it's something you have. I know it's your problem. And all of a sudden she goes, in that Chilean cold voice, the semen is perfect. And she used the word perfect. She used the word perfect. And so like, for another year, like another year later, every time I was like, is that someone looking for perfection? Knock, knock, perfection around the corner. And for about a year, I would just joke about being perfect. And anyway, I'm a bit arrogant. I'm a bit not as humble, right? So And that would make her even worse. That would piss her off even more, right?
Yeah.
And then I kind of said, okay, fine, we'll try till December. If not the following year, I'm open to IVF. I said it verbally, but inside I was like against it. And then it happened. And it was after many years of trying. And I didn't want to have a kid right away because like I still feel I wanted to do more things and whatever. And she said, no, you're old. There's an 8-year gap between me and her. Right. So she's the one who said, let's have a kid. Let's have a kid. And I was like, okay. And then the second kid comes along. And the second kid also was like a 6-year gap. And that also, no IVF discussion. I was like, listen, we have one beautiful son. Most people I know today are purposely only having one child. Many people I know have no children, including your family members and blah, blah, blah. So like one child is incredible. And then I wanted to have 2 or 3 because, I'm one of 3 and, I wanted a brother or sister. So we go and have the second 6 years later. And then she goes, a year later, I want a daughter. And I was like, well, it doesn't work that way. I'm not too sure, if it'll be a daughter or not. So then eventually she said, okay, fine, I think it'll be a daughter. And I was like inside thinking, oh, okay. And then we have a third child and it's a son. So we have 3 boys.
3 boys.
Actually, this is funny. The other night we were at dinner and Amit, we were talking about you and your 3 boys. And my mom says, in the Indian culture, if they have to try for a 4th. And if it's a girl, it's good luck for them. And I said,
and if it's
good luck in what? I said, good luck in, and I did this on purpose. Good luck in health. And she goes, no, money.
Money. Lakshmi,
what?
Right?
That makes no sense.
But what do I do? Then I then raise 4 children?
Well, then if it's a girl, then you have like Ambani money and you can hire nannies to raise your children.
My sister-in-law just had a girl, right? My sister-in-law just had a baby girl. So we were with her. We went to see them in Miami. And I was like, listen, there are 3 boys here. You're one girl. You choose. Any of the 3 boys, just give us the girl. So we have 2 boys and a girl.
So, Rushi, you have your first healthy, beautiful child. And then do you mentally prepare yourself to, okay, it's time to try this again because we want a second child?
No. Actually, we at this point, after all our journey, we're actually fairly down the path to adoption. So we were approved for adoption here in the US. We had all the paperwork done, and then when the reason we had our first child is because we were moving from maybe it's too much detail. We were moving from the UK to the US, and it turns out if you have a frozen embryo as a result of IVF, you cannot move that. You cannot cross the border
internationally.
So we're like, well, we're just going to try. Let's just see what happens. And that's how we had our first daughter. We moved to the States.
Because if you don't mind me, you had failed IVFs before.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Both natural and very long, painful journey. But yeah, so we're like, okay, well, it's not going to work. Most likely, we know we are but we need to try. We need to do this. So we did. And Jessica moved here. And then she called me up. I was still in the UK waiting for my green card to come through. She was like, guess what?
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. And then the second was a total surprise.
Okay.
Total surprise. So and that was amazing. And she's super healthy and very funny. So yeah, that's our
great.
family at the moment.
You're so right. No one talks about this. It's like, if you're going through fertility issues, it's like, let's keep this between us. Don't talk about it. This is so private. And I mean, it is a private matter between you and your significant other. But, when you're going through the trials of it, it's nice to have support. So I hope people like you, myself, Amit, like we talk about this more so that other people can know, like, you're not alone. This is tough. This is
only
really
because my
hard.
wife doesn't watch the podcast, Sabrina. That's the only reason why I'm talking about it.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of life, we have to.
I think it's just, I just feel that it's so common and it is so challenging. And, there is a whole unfortunate industry around it now as well, like especially in India. I'm sure
in India, you said?
In India, there's a massive industry around this. Like there is, it is like IVF is done at an industrial scale in India. It's amazing. And you see, but nobody talks about it, right?
Yeah.
Much cheaper, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, super cheap.
I was thinking.
Yeah, much cheaper, much more available. and very common. And it still has the same issues that it has anywhere else: physical challenges, mental health challenges when it doesn't work out, costs, the toll that it takes on a relationship, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah,
What are
I just think
abortion
it's
laws like in India versus US?
Oh gosh, I
Did you
actually
say
don't know.
abortion?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to know, like, with Roe versus Wade, what's happening in America now, state versus, federal.
know about
I don't know what
how
the
that
rules
I
are
don't
in
know,
India,
here.
and I'm
actually.
assuming in India it's
Yeah.
federal, like one for the
It
whole
is
country.
federal. It is federal, but I'm
Yep.
not 100% sure.
Even I don't know.
India also has a big problem with infanticide.
Mhm.
So that also sort of plays into that as well. But
Yeah.
maybe a bit
And
group.
rape as well, right? Still.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, let's move on. I think
Yeah.
we've gone from AI to IVF
Yes.
to
Any other acronyms you want to cover today?
yeah. Let's do the SUCCESS. What is your definition of success?
I think what is the definition of success? I think it's being able to have the time and ability to follow what interests you, right? I think that is success, where you don't feel like you have to do something because that is you need to have the money, or you have a very clear career path in mind. I think success to me is, and I read it somewhere, is like you can decide to wake up at 12 if you want to, and you can go for a hike, right? That for me, and you can take the day and play with your kids. That for me is a definition of success.
That's
if
rich.
I'm interested in something, that's rich. Yeah, that's rich. Exactly. Yeah, that's wealth. Right.
So what does interest you? What does interest you? What makes you happy?
So I my wife says I'm like a magpie. I follow many different interests. I like I really enjoy photography. I enjoy riding my motorcycle. That's something that I find a lot of enjoyment from. I think basically anything that forces me to step out of like my usual thought processes. I think that is what it's fun. Like if you like photography, it forces you to think always about like where the light is coming from. What is the scene, right? Instead of just saying, "Oh, I'm going from A to B," you think, "Wow, there is really interesting shadow here. Let me stop and think about it."
Okay.
So that kind of stuff.
Do you have a Harley? What bike do you have?
I have a Triumph. I have a Triumph little sport bike. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I have a quick question.
Go for it.
On X, I saw your X account. You describe yourself as a techie by day, aspiring supervillain by night.
That's a very old account. I think I was just trying to be funny, because I read a lot of science fiction, and I think it was just a play on that. Like
I was like, supervillain. Tell us more about that.
Sabrina,
you seem like a really nice guy.
It's just
wit. The British wit is coming out.
It's I was just trying to be cute and failing clearly.
All right, Rushi, we're going to go into a rapid fire where we ask some stupid questions and
go ahead. I'm ready.
Yeah, Sabrina.
Okay, so what book are you currently reading?
I'm reading a book called Super Communicators. I think, yeah, that's what it's called, by
Super Communicators.
Super Communicators by a guy called Charles Duhigg, and I'm also reading a science fiction book. So yeah, that's what I'm reading at the moment.
Okay.
Describe yourself in one word.
Curious.
Curious. I like that. I don't think anyone said that yet. I like that.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Amit is wearing a Goonies shirt, and it's one of probably my favorite movie of all time.
Loved it.
Yeah. So
excellent movie.
It's brilliant, right? I mean, I still wish I was had that experience at this age.
I wanted to kiss a girl with braces ever since Goonies. I never did. It was on my bucket list. I never.
Life goals. Life goals.
It's on your bucket list.
Yeah. When I was young and I saw Goonies, I said one day I want to know.
That is amazing.
I never kissed a girl with braces.
Amazing. God, you just every episode you surprise me with something. What is your favorite movie of all time?
It'll be Arrival. It's a relatively recent movie, and it's science fiction, but it's based on one of my favorite short stories of all time called the Lives of Others by Ted Chiang. Stories of Your Life. That's what the book is called, and that's what it's a great movie. It's directed by Denis Villeneuve, who also did Blade Runner, and he did the new Blade Runner, and he did the Dune movies that came out recently.
All right.
Yeah.
Dune 2 was fantastic.
Fabulous movie. Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay, favorite social media platform? Are you a YouTube? Are you a TikTok? Are you a...
So
we did notice you have most of them. So which is your favorite?
I think unfortunately the one that I spend the most time on for work is LinkedIn, because that's what I use. But for my personal, I like Threads, which is a new Twitter platform.
Really?
I've really enjoyed it. I think it has a much more engaged and friendly community, and it's not sort of taken over by. I think the algorithm prioritizes healthier conversations, I think. So I really enjoy it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the banter of X and the people insulting each other. I love that.
Yeah.
I get up in the morning and I watch X.
I think X is great for if you want to follow what's happening in AI or breaking news. X is by far
or Elon's world.
Or Elon's world, right. But I think for social media conversations, Threads is pretty good. I think they've done a good job. Yeah. I used to love Instagram, but I really hate Reels. So I was much more images. But there you go.
Isn't Instagram just a woman-driven, woman-consumed platform? Isn't it 80% women?
I don't know. Maybe, but
your wife, Jessica, you said, right?
That's right.
Jessica's favorite platform is Instagram?
Instagram, most likely. Yeah. But you can, like my photography account on Instagram, you can curate it. So it actually follows some really interesting photographers on there. But the problem is they keep trying to insert freaking reels into the feed, which is
yeah. I have to tell you,
that's right.
I'm ashamed to say this. On Sunday when I was sick, I was laying in bed and I started going through reels, and it was all about the Ambani wedding.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
As ashamed I am to admit this, I was sucked in. I just kept watching everything that was happening at the wedding, and I'm like, why? I can't stop. I couldn't stop. It was like a drug.
I've heard from $200 million to $600 million. I've heard all sorts of different.
It's madness, isn't it? I think it's just so.
It's madness.
It is.
I thought the pre-wedding was over the top. I thought it was the pre-wedding. But imagine.
I know. I think all of it is over the top. I think it's just. There you go. They're pumping a lot of money into the local economy, I guess.
Gosh, wow.
Charitable way of looking at it. Yeah.
Okay.
You mean the jewelry for them?
I know.
Imagine doing the jewelry for Ambanis. You can charge, this emerald, this will be $25 million. And Ambani will be like, only 25? No, give me something better.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. What's one thing you cannot live without?
One thing I cannot live without?
Not person, phone. Thing, right?
Yes, thing.
My phone, I guess. is the answer, probably. Yeah, I think, when you live so far away from friends and family and it's like, it's always good. Yeah. People complain about WhatsApp and social media, but hey, it's a great way of
lifeline
keeping in touch
to the family. Yeah.
So, work, everything happens on the phone. So unfortunately, that's the answer.
If you weren't doing what you're doing now, CTO of this AI and tech services company, start from scratch, what would you be doing? What's your if you could choose any career?
I would have loved to be a writer. I think writing is what is amazing is that you can read a book from somebody who wrote it, read a book by somebody who wrote it 300 years ago, and then you are in their mind, right? It is like the most effective way of communication that spans time that we've ever developed. And I was pretty keen on it. I've been writing blogs and dabbled in fiction and things like that for a while. It's just it's a shitty career. Sorry about the language. It's a bad career.
James Clear, Michael Crichton, many authors will disagree with you.
I know, but it's one in chances of success to make a good living is difficult. But
you have some great articles you've written on Medium and Substack, so we'll make sure that we put those links.
The link of his blog
in the notes.
Actually, I found his blog. It went over my head. I thought I was reading The Economist, some of the language. It was a bit heavy.
Yeah, there's
it's a lot of tech stuff.
I like more USA Today, material.
Yeah. I think that's actually really good feedback, because like the idea is to be able to communicate, and if the language I'm using is kind of not that fun, then it's something.
Some of the topics you talk about, right? It was more like Harvard Business Review topics as opposed to
That's true.
Atomic Habit type of topics.
Yeah. That's a great book, by the way. Fantastic book.
Last question. Yeah.
No, you go ahead if you have one.
I have another one. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think it's not advice, but it's something that I learned from my wife, from Jessica, is that she will very rarely say no to new experiences. So I believe like before, and this is something I've tried to embrace, especially recently, I think by saying yes and keeping yourself open to new experiences and new people, I think it opens doors. She encouraged me to take the leap to go from banking to the startup world. She said, hey, just try it. What's the problem in saying yes? If you don't like it, you can always go back. And so that for me, that consistently remains one of the best advice that I've given, and she embodies it, and I try to as well. So yeah, that's.
Can I argue against Jessica's advice?
Sure, please.
I think once you go down it's hard to go back. Like I was a banker. I used to fly Concorde and British Airways first class.
Yeah.
And that was 30 years ago, and I don't think I flown first class in 30 years. So I think once you leave that, now business class when I have lots of miles or when the journey is over 15 hours. But otherwise, once you leave, when you leave a name like Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs in your CV, I mean, do you think, I'm Goldman Sachs, I'm going to be successful the rest of my life? People who have left Goldman Sachs can't even get a call or a phone back from anyone important. They called you because you were in Goldman Sachs, and that means something to most people. And people forget that. So I think in terms of new experiences, obviously it's a plus. I'm actually, as I'm getting older, I'm learning that it's easier to say no and not go to every party and not take every phone call and not take every LinkedIn request that you have.
Sure.
Because I think for me, time, as I'm getting older, time is the only thing that matters. Obviously, if once you are healthy and you can have your Maslow structure and you're getting your food and all that stuff, and your 8 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep. But for me, time now has become absolute. I do every decision I make now based on time.
I mean, that is such a fantastic way of thinking about it. I mean, my thought on that, and I agree with you, right? Saying yes to everything without any filter is just a road to misery. I completely agree with you. What I found is that I've gotten older, I have developed a better filter. Like I know, like normally I know what I would like, and I know where there's a hard no. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to, pick up ballet dancing at this time. So I think that is, you do need to have a filter. You're absolutely right.
Well, I don't know about your filter. You said yes to this podcast, so
Rushi,
I had a lot of fun.
Something wrong with your filter.
Any questions for us? I know you said you might want to ask us some stuff.
Yeah, that's great. So I've been fascinated by this, by podcasting. I consume a lot of podcasts. Amit, like you, I'm a big fan of the Knowledge Project. Actually,
Shane Parrish.
Met Shane Parrish. I went to a couple of his seminars. Fantastic guy, really friendly in person too.
He got me into podcasting.
Oh, he did? What have you all gotten out of this? Yeah, with Naval, right?
So Shane's Parrish episode with, what's his name? Naval. With Naval.
Amazing.
His episode with podcast, I listen to it. It's like my go-to. It's like my calm. I listen to it, and Naval's words just resonate so well. Obviously, since then, I've read the Almanac of Ravikant. And then,
that's right.
Once you're in that circle, then you get to the Andrew Hubermans, you get to the,
right.
I don't like the Joe Rogans and the Gary V's and the Tony Robbins. That's not my cup of tea. Neither is Jay Shetty and those type of guys. But Shane Parrish and Guy, the guy How I Built This.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Guy. That's right.
Those guys are my cup of tea. Ravikant and Balaji and those people.
That's right.
So the question, what have we got out of this? I mean, without sounding corny, but meeting people like you is already enough. I mean, the fact that I'm going to start now this AI app, and I have someone to do it with, or someone that can quote me at least, is already a big plus. honestly, even my relationship with my cousin Sabrina, I feel is much better because she's in
We've
her world,
always
I'm in my world.
geographically, we're
Right.
so
Yeah,
far apart.
we've always
but-
respected and loved each other, but now like when for example when Trump got shot at, I don't know why, I just thought of Sabrina. And like before this podcast, I would never have thought of Sabrina if Trump died. I've got friends in America, I've got family in America. I would be like,
right.
Yeah,
oh.
it has strengthened our relationship.
So I feel
That's
it
awesome.
strengthened my relationship with my first cousin,
Right.
who I adore. I feel like it's opened up doors. I'm doing a few new projects. A couple of them are with people that I've met in this podcast.
Fantastic.
I've flown down to meet some people that I've met in this podcast because they've inspired me. I'm doing a startup with one of them already, and that's before what you and I can do. So for me, it's just been win-win-win, and I hope to do this for a long time, as long as Sabrina can tolerate me.
Sabrina, what has been?
You know what? The first thing is it has enriched my educational bucket to no end. I mean, we have all sorts of guests. We're about to publish our 50th episode.
That's amazing. Yeah.
50 guests, all doing different things. And we're doing this research beforehand and then talking to them and learning from them and being inspired by them. I mean, I have learned so much in this 1 year. And, at this age, you tend to get set in your ways. You have your work, you have your kids, it just becomes routine. So I'm so grateful that he asked me to do this with him. For that reason, also, it is like I have we've always had a great relationship, but it's even better now. We've learned so much more about each other, things that would never be discussed otherwise.
She's a Democrat. I've learned she's a Democrat.
I've actually voted for both parties. I am not a Trump supporter, so he loves to pick and pick and pick. So,
yes, spicy topic.
It's been fun. It has been. It's entertaining. It just fills so many buckets for me. My mental, my educational. It's been great. Yeah,
that's great.
The research is questionable, but we're having fun.
Well, so if somebody you'll do your 50th episode soon, and you've got a pretty diverse range of guests on the podcast. If you had to give advice to somebody starting off an endeavor like this, like what is the one thing you would tell them?
Ooh, good question.
For me, it's easy.
What is
For me, it's choose a topic that you enjoy talking about and want to learn more and that you're curious about. And hopefully the more niche it is, the better. For example, if you're a Star Wars fan, just do a podcast on Star Wars and all the new shows of Disney and, bring all the Star Wars people, go to Star Wars events, go to the Comic-Con. So put yourself out there and focus on your niche. For us, it's about the Indian diaspora. Some people at the beginning said, why don't you just do Sindhi's diaspora because you're Sindhi.
Right. Big diaspora too.
It is a big diaspora. I feel Sindhis, many of them don't like to talk about what they've done. And especially the really successful ones are extremely humble and would never come on a pod like this. And for us, entertainment is as important as information, right? So the inspirational stories we found are definitely not just Sindhi. I mean, they're all over. They're white people, they're brown people, they're Chinese, whatever. But we felt with the Indian diaspora, because now India is booming and there's a connection between India and the US, and Indians are all over the world. Literally the 50 guests we've had, none of them are remotely similar in any way whatsoever. But they've all at some point displayed courage, diversity. They've all traveled. They've all had to learn new skill sets. And all of them have such funny stories. And that's why we bring it down to, but what's your definition of success? Not are you successful? How much money do you have? Or where do you invest? There's lots of investment podcasts out there. But what do you define success? Is it time? Is it money? Is it, your children? Is it happiness? Is it mental health? And every single answer is so wonderful that it's worth, just that is worth listening to. And then I'm a talker. I like to talk. So I feel like I need to learn the skill of listening. And so this podcast makes you listen.
I wanted just to add to that is to say, you might prejudge a guest and be completely wrong. We've had guests that were like, oh, I don't know how this one's going to go. It might be a little too serious, or they might be boring, right? Like, I think this one's going to be boring. And it turns out to be wonderful. Maybe it's the questions we ask, maybe it's their personality, and there's been guests where he found the episode to be a little, and I loved it, and vice versa. Right. So you don't know who you're going to appeal to. There is going to be someone you're going to appeal to.
This one, for example, what I think of Rushi now is incredible. But yesterday, before we spoke, given that he's an Arsenal fan, I thought, what
and until the last couple of years, fair point.
Yeah, right. I thought they were relying on one certain Bergkamp or an Arsene Wenger, and without they've become like worse than Sir Alex Ferguson without Man U.
Amit, being a fan is about suffering. That's what it is. That is.
Yes.
Yeah, we are Real Madrid and Spain fans. So
so you don't know.
No, the run I've had, I try to explain to my sons who now become Real Madrid fans and they're Spanish fans, this is not normal. Yeah. What we're going through is not normal. Yeah. We are lucky to another level.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway. Rushi, this has been fun. I will connect with you early next week on what we spoke about. Sabrina, sorry if the first idea was really boring for you, and I'll keep you posted on the second idea.
I might use it once just to, support you if you do the first one.
I'm gonna make the IP in Texas that they have to pay. The rest of the world is free.
There you go.
Yeah, in Texas there'll be a
retribution.
So Rushi, it's been a pleasure, and we'll be in touch. Sabrina,
thank you for having me. Thanks.
Thank you for being here. Keep being curious. I love that answer. No one has said it, and I love that. It makes all our guests unique, and we love that. So thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you both.
Thanks, everyone. This has been another episode of Indian Explorers. Please share it with others and subscribe. Thank you.